So if you want to grow your own chestnut trees, it's not very hard at all. I grow over 1,000 every year, and I get close to 100% germination on the seeds. But when I first started, I ran into lots of problems. So the biggest thing is you have to store the seeds over the winter without having them sprout too early, get moldy, or get eaten by rodents. And I tried a lot of different ways to do that. I used to put them in bags in the fridge, and it almost always would either get mold after a couple months, or I would get them sprouting in February. And then it's way too cold to plant then, so that didn't work out. And then I tried storing them outside, and the mice would just hammer them. So then now I came up with this bucket method, and what we did was we took 5-gallon pails, and we dug a hole the size of the bucket, and then before we put the bucket in, we actually cut the bottom of the bucket out and replaced it with hardware cloth so the whole bucket can drain really well. And then we packed the whole bucket full of sawdust and chestnuts. And the sawdust is a really nice medium. It keeps the chestnuts moist, keeps them from drying out. I've also used sand. That works really well. The most important thing is that it drains really well and that the nuts don't dry out. So I just keep it all pressed in. This is actually a mixture of probably 70% chestnuts and 30% sawdust. So there's more chestnuts than sawdust in here. And you can get quite a few nuts in a 5-gallon bucket. You could bury a 1-gallon bucket if you just want to do a few. And then the lid snaps shut, or it's supposed to. And I usually put a big rock on it, and then just to help keep the mice out, and then I'll mulch all the buckets really thickly with leaves before the end of the year. I might put the mulch this thick and it won't even freeze under that, and if it does, it's not really a big deal. One last thing about storing the seed is it stays here all winter, and then as soon as the ground thaws out and as soon as I can start planting, I don't waste any time. I open up the bucket and I pull the nuts out. Some of them will have been sprouting and some not, but I just plant all of them as soon as I can. If the sprouts get more than 1 inch long, they often get damaged by just being broken. And so it's nice if it's a really, really short sprout or not sprouted yet. So I try to plant them right away. And we're gonna go check out what happens when we plant them in the nursery beds right now. Alright, we're here in the nursery. This is where everything gets started. This is where the magic really happens in my mind. So this is a bed of chestnut seedlings. These were all started this spring. Right now it's October, the nuts are starting to fall. It's been a really, really warm season. We have not had any cold weather to speak of. Normally things are starting to go dormant now, but it's been so warm that they're not. But this is one chestnut tree, and there's about 220 in this bed, and another almost 200 in the bed behind me. You can see some of the trees get quite big. They're pretty close together. I plant the nuts in the spring in a row. Each row is only about a hand's width apart, and the nuts are maybe 1 inch apart, and the trees do fine with that. Some of them are almost 4 feet high, but more typical, an average tree will be 18 inches or 2 feet. And when I first started, I didn't get trees this big, but we've really built up the soil here and really feed the biology in the soil. We keep all the weeds down. We put a lot of work into this, and it's really satisfying to just have a small little space like this, which it might fit, 6 tomato plants or 200 chestnut trees. So anyway, that's what we've done with this little bed here. Alright, so once these trees start to go dormant in another few weeks, once they lose their leaves, I'm going to come in here with a shovel and dig them right up. They come up really easy because the soil's so loose. We usually don't damage hardly any roots at all. It's almost like pulling a carrot right out of the garden. And once they come up, then they're ready to send out to people. I love to plant trees when they're dormant. I don't like to plant trees when they have leaves or fruit or flowers on them. So we'll wait till they're sleeping, and then we'll be moving them out of here off to a wider spacing than this.
Awesome.
So the last bed of chestnuts was just chestnuts. Over in this area, we have a lot more trees growing, and a lot of them are mixed together. So I'll just show you what it looks like if you don't want to grow just 200 chestnuts, but you want to mix things together. It can still work out pretty well. Um, so, so right here, this soil is crazy deep here. There's been a lot of cow manure deposited here, and the chestnuts put on just amazing growth. This is all started from seed this year, just 1 year seedlings, and these are mixed in with some mulberry seedlings and some black locust root cuttings that I started. This all started this season. These are all 1 year old trees. We have really fertile soil that we put so much into, but some of the trees are doing really well even when they're totally mixed in. So if you look underneath this locust, you can find another chestnut tree. Here's a plum tree actually. Here's another chestnut. And they're all just mixed in together. The black locust is a nitrogen fixing plant, which if you're just growing a lot of trees, it'd be almost like sowing a crop of clover. It's pretty cool, and you get a tree out of it. So anyways, this is a mixed bed of chestnuts, locusts, and mulberries with a few other odds and ends like persimmons and plums mixed in. So it doesn't have to be pure blocks of anything.